Former Senator of Alaska Mike Gravel came to my attention watching the presidential debates, and I did a double take when he twice at the Black Congressional Caucus's debate explicitly argued for ending the drug war as a terrific abuse of our concept of justice, and falling very heavy on minorities, people of color, and youth, among other disproportionate victims of the drug war. And I was struck by that and won over instantly into the campaign. And subsequently, here we are today. So I'm going to ask Hans, who's the state coordinator of the Gravel campaign. It might be one of the only campaigns that comes to Michigan, so we might as well enjoy it. I'm going to ask Hans to make a more formal introduction of our honored guest and possibly the next president of the United States. Hans?
Sure. So, as he actually mentioned at the end of that, none of the other candidates have chosen to come to Michigan. And I think that says something about who this man is, because he is someone who is not politics as usual. The other candidates have decided to snuff, basically, Michigan in the name of politics. They want to be elected. They want to get all the votes in New Hampshire and Iowa, which are the two states that have them sign that pledge. And Gravel is more interested in hearing you people and getting the people involved in government. And that is one of the center pieces of his campaign, is the National Initiative for Democracy. It's a very revolutionary sort of idea of us making the laws. It's not about, making the, voting for the next representatives, because we've seen what happens. They just get corrupted over and over again. So if we get directly involved with the policy making, not with, the representative making, with the policy making, we have a say in the government. We can do this. We can amend the Constitution directly, and he's worked over the last 10 years crafting this piece, this piece of legislation to do just that. It is very revolutionary. It is very exciting. And I'm going to be passing mailing lists around, and I'd like to get as many people involved. We've got some very strong voices here. I know the Green Party's here. And Michigan NORML, and these are groups that need to get their voices more heard, not just lobbying representatives, but he's talking about us making the laws. So, without further ado, Senator Mike Gravel.
Thank you, Hans. Now you know why we got a nice, young, vibrant coordinator for the state of Michigan. Let me touch first, and he touched upon what really is pushing me to run for president. That is, I want to be your legislative leader, not your president, not your commander-in-chief, but your legislative leader, where you make laws and I'll work with you and share with you my abilities in lawmaking, since I have some amount of experience in that regard.
Senator, could you speak just a little louder?
Okay, well, I'll try. Let me see if
Right in the middle, that might help.
yeah,
right in the middle.
Let me see if can you turn that where you catch me if I'm talking this way?
I can hear you better.
Better? Okay. And I'm sorry, I just was talking for 3 hours this afternoon and then went to a very exciting briefing on magnetic levitation and a program for transportation for the country, which should be revolutionary. And I was just very, very impressed. Let me just just pick up a little bit of what Hans is talking about. We've all been schooled from childhood that you control government by going out on election day and voting and participating and helping people get elected. Well, that's good. I have no problems with that. We need a lot of good people in elective office. But I'll tell you, it isn't going to cut it. You're not going to be able to really have a society that we need in the 21st century, for the very simple reason that representative government as a structure was broken. And if it's broken, you have to look at the problem. There's only two possible venues for human change in terms of government. One is the government, where the problem exists, and the other is the people. So there's no other place to go to. And so what I've spent the last 15 years of my life is developing, it literally took about 10 years to write the legislation. And it's 5,600 words, and it's on the website. And on that website, you can vote for it. It's sponsored by the Democracy Foundation, which is a 501c3. And the election is conducted by a 501c4, a nonprofit or a corporation called Philadelphia 2. Now, the Congress will never empower you. They won't pollute their power. The structure just does not permit that. So if we're going to bring this about, we have to go around the government entirely and ask you to vote on this website, which is a nonprofit, and when we get 60 million, we repeat that, that's 60 million Americans that vote to empower themselves. Now, it's Katie bar the door, you have power. In the Congress, the Supreme Court can't touch this. I vetted this with scholars, Harvard, Yale, you name it. We've got the support of people who really understand the legalities of this, and I could just phrase it in one word. If you have any doubt about the legality of this, let me point out to you that our founding fathers, to the man, and they're all men, said that the people prospectively should have the power to choose whatever government in the future they felt that met their needs for happiness. Well, the problem is they didn't put out any procedures to do that. And so now we have to jumpstart and put those procedures that they were talking about doing so that now you can begin to do the job. You need procedures to do it. I've copied the procedures of the Congress, tweaked them so that they can be used in every government jurisdiction of the United States, so that you can make laws. With the passage of this one law, you'll be equipped, and that's it. This is a federal ballot initiative to give you the tools that the Founding Fathers left out of the Constitution, but said that they believed in. And I could go into the history of that, but it'd just take too long. I just want to inform you on that. Let me touch a little bit on what does interest you, and that's, of course, the war on drugs. I doubt that there's any literate American that doesn't know, because it's been so pervasive in our culture, and that is that the social failure of prohibition in the 20s, how damaging it was for our society. So damaging that it was brought in by a constitutional amendment, which is very difficult to bring about under our system, and it was repealed by a constitutional amendment. And that's how bad that failure was. But what it did, the most damaging part of it was that it created an attitude of disrespect for the law. If there's one thing that keeps civilization intact, it is respect for the law. And so when the law is abused, when the law is corrupted, we are all diminished in our ability to share in human governance. And so that's what it did then. And fortunately, FDR came in and brought his leadership to change it. I'm trying to bring my leadership to change it. And it's very discouraging, and I'm not discouraged. That's not me by nature, period. But as a phrase, it's very discouraging to announce this at a debate and have all the other candidates look like they're just deer caught in the headlights of a car. It just is pathetic. And the best that's come about is Dennis Kucinich has said, well, Gravel's a little right, maybe this is a public health problem and not a criminal problem. My God, that's the best we can get out of him. Forget the rest of the candidates, forget the Republicans. I mean, this is Neanderthal thinking. And if you're informed, and I'm sure many of you are, that there are studies that are replete that marijuana is not addictive. Marijuana is not a gateway drug. And so if that's not the case, and we know it has very interesting healing properties for certain kinds of cancer, how can we have a country led by fools who will tell you, and last year, we arrested 800,000 people on marijuana charges? Does it get any stupider than that? And so all I can say is that, hey, booze Alcohol is much more addictive than marijuana will ever be. I've tried marijuana 4 or 5 times. I drop at the last hit at it, and I don't like it. It doesn't do anything for me, except I had somebody lace some brownies with it. And my son-in-law was hanging out with the video camera to take me as I was supposed to turn foolish. Well, hell, they went to bed before I even, oh, I'm feeling a little good. I think maybe I would have bed too. but it's so ridiculous how we punish and mutilate ourselves as human beings when it's not necessary. Life is difficult enough without having all of this other crap foisted on us. Now, let's look at the problem, the dimensions of it. Let me just touch on the foreign policy aspects of it. We destabilize major countries and play to the police powers of these countries in South America and Asia. Just look at the money that we're giving Mexico right now. And I was looking at the list. It's more rubber hoses and cruisers that they're going to use this money for. That's not a solution to the problem there or here. And it's sad. And that's where your tax dollars goes. And what foreign aid is out there, it's really always police power that's improved and strengthened. And that diminishes their ability to try and get their democracies intact. And that's what the damage we're doing globally. I won't even touch upon the war in Iran and these other crazy things in Iraq. But that's what we do as part of the war on drugs. We spend anywhere from $50 to $100 billion a year and have been doing that for the last generation. And it's a total failure. And it's self-evident it's a failure, and you can't lose the leadership. It just is very, very bad. Here's the consequences domestically, and understand this, that in this country, we've exacerbated our tendencies to a police state. We have more people in jail, 2.4 million people in jail in this country. That's all facets of imprisonment. 5% of the gross population, that represents 25% of the gross population in jail on a comparative basis. Let me shock you with a figure. And because in this book I've got coming out, Citizen Power, I've got a chapter on prison reform. But it caused me to do some research. You ask yourself this question, maybe you can pass my water over here at the end. You can ask yourself this question: how many people were in jail in Germany in 1938 in relationship to the total population? That's an interesting question, because of course we use Germany and Hitler as a bellwether of how bad a society can fall apart and self-destruct. But it would surprise you to know that the United States of America, a free country supposedly, that on a per capita basis, with Germany in 1938, before the Second World War started, because it started in 1939, we have 6 times more people in jail in the United States of America than Adolf Hitler had in Germany in 1938. Does that shock you? It shocks me to the core. And I repeat this, and the math is real simple. We've got some of the numbers from the Holocaust Museum in Washington, and that is shocking. And if you don't know what's going on in this country, this will give you a feeling of how bad it is. so I would like to see a federal law, and I will push this. And if the Congress won't do it, the American people, I'm sure, will do it, and with the national initiative. And that is real simple. You get out the jail card, just like Monopoly. All you got to do is go to school and get educated. And whether it's a high school, whether it's a journeyman electrician, whether it's a PhD, we will pay the cost to educate you in this situation of idleness. And when you have reached your potential and you're ready to come back into society, you should have never been left society, but you come back in society, you're going to come back equipped to contribute. Now, society's going to pay the price, whether you like it or not. We're talking $30,000 a year. And just the way it is. But we know the facts are there very clear that you wipe out recidivism if you educate them. And so, and how I'm so knowledgeable about this, I have a sister who's a Holy Cross nun, who's 2 years younger than me, and she's been going to jail in Manchester, New Hampshire every day for the last 10 years, handling a program for the diocese to turn around and teach these people who are in jail to get a handle on their lives. And I went there. I've visited jails before when I was in the Senate, but I asked my sister last fall, I want to go hear your program. I was so impressed with her, so impressed with the program. That's when I started developing it in my own mind, and then have interfaced with a lot of people. The person who wrote the program, and she just introduced me as her brother, and I'm in the back of the room, so they didn't know who I was. I'm sitting there looking at this, and I saw one young man who clearly was literally a literary genius. He wrote a poem. He read the poem to the rest of the inmates that were part of this class. And I've never heard such awesome poetry. And the minute he was done reading the poem, you talk with him, and he talks like he's not an educated person. But he was. He just did. And I told him that he had a genius. But that's what's there. That's underutilized, and you're paying for their incarceration. And that can all be reversed if with a simple law that says, get out of jail card, all you got to do is be educated, get your diploma, and we pay the cost of their education. And then, rather than being a burden on society, they now contribute to society. I'm sure you're aware of the drug programs in Switzerland, and which is very interesting, and in Holland, where they took people off the street and found out they were addicts. And these are people on the street, what they call classic homeless. Gave them their drugs and on a continuing basis. And what they did, they got their act together, they got their lives together, they went out and became earning citizens and continued on their drug program. Okay. It's so interesting when you look at society that, my God, we're all druggies. All of us. Who hasn't taken an aspirin? It just is, you know, and some of us, like Rush Limbaugh and Bob Dole, those people are real druggies. You know, but it just is appalling that we're so ignorant of this, and we have such fear about it. There's nothing to fear about it. This is a public health problem. And so my plan would be very simple. For hard drugs, go to a doctor, give your prescription. You want some cocaine? Fine. Whatever you need, you give your prescription, you go fill it at the drugstore. You don't have to go to the street corner and talk to mafia-type killers to get your drug. You just do it in a normal fashion like the rest of us do it. I get my drugs from the VA. You know, I called them on the phone just before I left yesterday. Look at, I'm running out of I have neuropathy. And so I'm a real drug addict. I'll tell you, I have to take a pain pill every day. I don't take more than one because the side effect is drowsiness, and I want to be alert. And lo and behold, on the plane flying in here, there's a guy coming to Ann Arbor for Michigan, a surgeon out of Baltimore, and he wouldn't believe that I'm running for president, and so he proved it to him. And so he got all excited by this, and so he sends me. And so I was kidding with him. I said, well, you know, I got neuropathy. And so he gave me a new drug that I'm going to show my doctor that will try it. He says that there's no side effect to this drug except You can lose a little weight. Isn't that great? you don't think I'm not going to jump on this new drug like a heart attack? So let me close on that note. And if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead. Come on in. We're saving you a seat over here with Dick. Come on. You know, that gentleman right there with the glasses who's ambling in. He's really younger than me, but he looks like he's older than me. Come on, Dick, we're saving you a seat over here.
Really younger than me.
You're going to sit.
Leave everything else he
I'll
said.
tell you, we were boyhood friends that we go back to just like about kindergarten. So, I mean, that's been a long time. Please, your question.
Mr. Bell, this is a disturbing trend now of privatizing prisons. What can Congress do? What can we do about this trend of privatization of prisons, which gives the corporations that run the prisons an incentive to keep people in prison rather than let them out?
Let me tell you, it is that bad. You've all heard of 3 strikes and you're out in California where Huffington spent $500,000, and then Pete Wilson, Republican, $500,000, and then the Prison Guards Association, $500,000. That was $1.5 million that they used to get the initiative passed in California when it had already passed the legislature. That's how sick it can get. The privatization goes much beyond. There's no question. We don't have to privatize many of these functions. All we got to do is just park the waters and let them go do their number. But not prisons. There are so many functions within our government bureaucracy that must remain within the function of government. One of the things I advocate in that regard, you know, with our military, we have West Point, we have Annapolis, we have the Air Force Academy. Why is it that we only think in terms of the military and having an ethic, having a professionalism that really is very important? Why not think of our bureaucracies? Why not say that, hey, we're going to have a bureaucracy that deals with health care, and that we should have a West Point for health care so that people want to make a profession of it all their lives. And rather than what we have right now, where a person becomes president, you take 2 or 3 layers of government and you put all your political hacks in there, and then they find out that they can drill down and get civil service in a few years, and so now you've corrupted the whole civil service system with these people. This is not a way to run a government. You know, politics is fine, partisanship is fine, but that should not be the final end. And that's the problem I'm facing right now. You see a lot of people say, well, you know, I want somebody who's electable. I hear that all the time. Oh, you're great, Gravel. We just love what you say. We'd love to see you president. But you're just not electable. You know what that means? That means that people are more interested in power than substance. That's what that means. And what you're going to get, you're going to get no power, and you're going to get no substance.
Hi. I just found out about you not too long ago by my friends Jess and Casey, and Hillary's disappointed me, and I'm a little upset about that, because I've always been a big fan of hers, and Barack, well, he didn't come to Michigan, so I'm a little ticked off about that. But my question is, the war on drugs is important in my life, but most importantly, women's rights. I'd like to know where you stand, especially when it comes to abortion and a woman's right to choose, and also if you could talk about how you feel about the death penalty.
I'm opposed to the death penalty.
All right.
With respect to women's right, when I was in the Senate, I lost the last election. Mm-hmm. And Jerry Falwell and a group of people, every time I'd show up at a fundraiser in Alaska, they had a 4x8 sheet of plywood that had a late-term abortion. Mm-hmm. And every time I'd walk around and say, well, there it is again. It was just pathetic. Yeah. I take this very, very seriously. My wife was one of an official in California at Planned Parenthood. And so to me, it's real simple. I just revolt at the thought that a woman can be in the hospital, and crowding in her room are 9 people with robes, and 435 people from Congress, and that the doctor's down the hall and can't get to her and talk to her. Just see that picture. That's what we got. And it's tragic. The woman's right to choose. It's your body. You want to consult with a doctor? You do that. You want to consult with any religious advisor? Do that. But stay out of politics. stay out of politics. This is your right as a human being. And that's where the rubber hits the road, when you empower the American people about what they have the power. Just look at the polls. This will be a non-issue once the people are empowered. Make no mistake about that. And let me tell you one more thing about women's rights. 54% of the population in this country are women, and they don't even have the power to get the ERA passed into the Constitution. Whose fault is that? Your fault. You want power? I'm the only one since George Washington held office that's turning around and campaigning and saying, I want to empower you. All I want to do is be, and I've spent 15 years of my life writing legislation, so all you got to do is reach for it and empower yourselves. That's all. I become president, and if you haven't voted the 60 million votes thereabouts to enact this, I'm going to spend the initial part of my presidency bullying every one of you to vote to empower yourself. Because I understand the policies you hear me articulated, I couldn't get them to the Congress in a month of Sundays. Never happened. But put them before the people, women's rights before the people, change the system of taxation with our corrupt income tax, put it before. You want health care? You're not going to see it out of this election. I mean, you're whistling Dixie. Just do the numbers. Here, we got a $50 to $70 trillion tax gap, and you think anybody's going to be able to deliver anything that costs money? It's a joke. And do you think they're going to tell you? Politicians are designed. We are programmed, when we decide to get into it, to never give out bad news. Never give out bad news. So we can, because we want you to love us. Vote for us. We're going to bring home the bacon. We're going to steal it from him, and we'll bring it home to Alaska. We'll give you a road to nowhere if you really want it. Where's the responsibility? Here, our system of government is designed to keep all of us in civic adolescence. You give your power away, and you blame somebody else. You're the blame. You're the blame. You want something, you pay for it. You want something, you go ahead and pay taxes. I mean, this idiocy of going to war, violence, and killing people needlessly, and then cutting taxes at the same time. It doesn't, and we stand by and we see ourselves demoralized when our government tortures people. We are all at fault. We can't hide from that. We can't. Next.
First, I want to applaud you for turning on Alex Jones' radio show, I believe it was yesterday, and stating your opinion that you believe there's ongoing cover-up with 9/11. In regards to that, with the whole, everybody knows the whole war on terror is a fraud. What do you feel about the Real ID Act? I believe the Real ID Act, a lot of the terrorists, they had legal visas, but they were still able, some of them were still able to attack. And do you believe that we should, they should be allowed to give us a Real ID Act with a RFID tracking system in it?
Okay, you get several questions. One, on the show, I think I precisely said that I didn't know, but I saw a lot of things that lead to suspicion. And I get this question around the country a lot, the conspiracy. I don't know. I do know from my own experience in public office that people think there are more conspiracies than there are, but then I know there's more conspiracies that the people don't know. So it's a conundrum. And so my answer to this is real simple. And I'm informed, and I have another goal in addition to just the conspiracy of 9/11. What I will cause to be formed is going to be one of the most powerful commissions in the history of the nation. I know, and you know also, every time we have a new commission looking into the assassination of Jack Kennedy, that we picked up more information. It may not have changed people's views, but we picked up more knowledge, because you need time for this stuff to digest. So I'm going to create a commission. And this commission is going to have subpoena powers. And this commission is going to require anybody that they bring before it to be sworn in oath. And it's going to be starting with George Bush, coming along with his attorney, and being sworn in, and essentially being deposed. If he commits a felony, or if and after him, Dick Cheney, and on down the line. And if we pick up additional information that warrants criminal action, or we pick up additional information and they turn around and have committed a crime or perjury, I'll tell you, as President of the United States, I will inflict the justice on them that you all believe. We made a mistake in not putting Richard Nixon in jail. We're not going to make that mistake again if I become president.
I would love for you to be president.
Thank you.
But I don't think it's going to happen because the people who funded Bush are now funding Hillary. And the corporations decide who's going to be president for both parties. Don't you think it's time for a third party to rise up and confront both of the corporate parties?
That may well happen. That may well happen. Let's leave that subject right there. Okay?
What?
Here, you heard her question. Is it time for a third party? And I say, that may well happen.
It will.
I want to leave that subject right there because I'm fighting tooth and toenail to stay into the debates. I'm running as a Democrat. I've been a Democrat all my life. I'm ashamed of my party.
Right.
Ashamed.
Right.
Ashamed of it in Congress and all across the world. But here, campaigns are a linear experience. Okay? You do your duty here, you do your duty there, do your duty. Just hang tough. I'm not gone by a long shot. And now, understand, I've been cut out of the debate by NBC on next Tuesday in Philadelphia.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you, NBC, I know enough of them at the top. They're just following orders. You know where they're getting the orders? They're getting it from General Electric.
That's right.
And I'm going after General Electric where they live. These corporate giants, they love to hide behind, hey, we'll try to get your address. You can do noodle them or Google them, and you get your address. And if there's one that lives around here, go pick at his house or her house. That's what it comes to. That's what it comes to. These people can't take the heat. They can't take the heat, and they're very nervous. Here, I'll give you an example. I'm trying to negotiate as we talk through assistants in Pennsylvania. We go to the University of Pennsylvania. Oh, they want me to get on their campus and give an alternate. But they don't want me to talk about GE. No. They might be getting some money from GE. They understand the whole system, how it's corrupted from the beginning to the end. And the only way we're going to break that logjam is for the people to become empowered. And that's the reason I'm working so hard to acquaint you about the National Initiative. And so if you want to do something, go to nationalinitiative.us and vote and contribute $1, $10, whatever. But you'll find that is the only way. You can't do it from within the government. And all you need is somebody who's not afraid to speak up to these corporations. And if we're successful in staging an alternative debate, and I'll tell you how I'm going to do it. We're trying to figure out if we can afford.
One question.
One more question.
One more question. When you lose the nomination, would you consider coming and joining the Green Party? Cynthia McKinney joined. Cindy Sheehan joined. A lot of people are leaving the corrupt Democratic Party and joining the Green Party.
Not a lot of people. 67% of the people in this country consider themselves independent, whether that could be green or what have you. I've already said publicly, if I get the Democratic nomination, I will see that the other legitimate parties are treated equally. Why the monopoly of the Democrats and Republicans? I mean, they're not in the Constitution, and so this is a game that's played. And I've done there, done that, know how it operates. I'm doing the best I can. It's up to you, and I really say that. I'm doing the best I can. You like what I say? Don't give me this stuff. I can't get elected. I get elected. Lightning strikes. I went to Alaska, and I was broke. On a Sunday afternoon, next day I had a job. 12 years later, I'm sitting in the Senate of the United States. There's a Chinese proverb that says, work hard and be lucky. I think it's possible. I'm working hard. Will I be lucky? You're the determining factor.
Getting back to the war on drugs and prison reform, I understand where the power of the tobacco lobby comes from. I understand where the power of the healthcare and the defense armament industries. I don't see clearly how prison construction and maybe prison staffing has so much power that they're able to keep this issue, keep the war on drugs going. Why can't Starbucks, for example, donate $50 million to be able to sell weed brownies in their cafes, just like they do in Amsterdam? Why is there no one on the side of legalizing the war on drugs, and who is that has so much power on the side of keeping the war going?
Well, first off, we had a senator, he wasn't from your state, but we had a senator once who said that even modest people needed representation in the Senate. And all I can say is you have what you have, the system is broken, and I'm trying to change the brokenness of it. And so that's where one thing first you go to the jugular. That is, if I can empower you people rather than these corporate interests that are empowered, then you have a chance of changing. Right now, you don't have a chance. There's too much money floating out there. Stop and think. This is going to be the first time, and I just found out yesterday how bad it is with, I qualify right now for matching funds. You realize there's no money? They're saving the money for the general election so they can thwart the will of the people in the primary election. And the people in the general election are all going to be floating in big money, and they're not going to want to use this money. I mean, it doesn't get any sicker than that, and it's the Congress that abets this sickness like it does this other. And so, if you've got representation, that's what you have, representative government. And I just keep telling you, it's broken, broken, broken. And you got to understand what that means and what the change is. The only possible change is, let me repeat it again. There's only two venues for change. And regardless of Hillary's focus groups that they're using the word change, they wouldn't recognize change if it hit them on the head. But there's only two venues for change. One is the people, and the other is the government. Where's the problem? The problem's with the government. So we have to equip the people with the tools so that they can become the senior partners of our system of governance. Gentleman back there.
As a lawmaker, could you discuss from a pragmatic perspective whether decriminalization is a more rapid and easier way to go about more immediate change to specifically marijuana laws as opposed to legalization?
A couple of years ago, I approached the organization in Washington that was working hard on legalizing marijuana for health purposes. And I was trying to get support from them. But they had their own agenda, their own turf, and they did their thing. And I predicted to them, you're going to be old men before you're going to see the results. And so I was trying to sell them that you're going to solve the problem by empowering the people. The people are smarter than the leaders. I can shout this over and over again, but you have spent all of your life being told just the opposite. Your leaders are smarter than you, and they're not. Oh, they may be individually, but then they got structures that do not permit to exercise their best judgment. You don't have such a barrier. You're operating as a constituency of the whole, and so whatever the majority goes for, and then what you need are procedures and communications devices so that people know what the heck they're doing when they do it. And so I'm a broken record in this. Don't look for, they're still fighting this problem, and I know, come on, and you're talking about, boy, you want to do it with the Congress, and some states are now changing, and you're getting some marijuana legalized because of its values, health value. Here, you know what I do for you? By drawing the line out here, it's like getting a first down. I'm advancing the entire issue. Win or lose, I'm doing more for you than you realize by pushing the ball down the field and not taking any discussion of people. Well, first off, I don't get any debaters. They're avoiding me. That's why they don't want me there. If Hillary's a lot smarter than Obama. Obama raised his head and got decapitated on this issue of who you're ready to nuke, Barack. Who in the world do you think you should drop an atomic bomb on? Man, he could pedaling back. He didn't understand what the hell happened to him. And he's not as experienced. Hillary's experienced. And she's got a coach. His name is Bill Clinton. Let me tell you about those two. You know, they hijacked the Democratic Party in 1952 with the DLC, and they took it to Wall Street, and it's still there. Where do you think all the money's coming from into their campaigns? It's coming from Wall Street, and plus the military and the medical. And all the I got to tell you, they may continue this hijacking, but that's the question you're asking. Maybe somebody's going to break the jack on them. Okay, please.
Yeah, I'm running for Congress. I'm running against Sandra Levin. He's the incumbent. I pro legalization of marijuana. Pro having a conversation about legalizing all drugs, and I support it. Marvin. Democrat.
Question, Democrat. Gentleman here.
I'd like to hear more about your empowering the people. Are you saying the people would be like the fourth branch of government, or replacing the House of Representatives?
No, we don't replace the Congress. Notice we got representative government. We've lived with it for 227 years. And we've developed it. But it doesn't do the best job. So what now here, let's take our founders, and we love to boast about it. Oh, we got checks and balances in this country. Tell me about it. Last 6 years, you had one party that controlled the legislative, the executive, and judiciary. Checks and balances, never had it. When the Democrats are in control, it's the same thing. You avoid your checks. And so now, when you bring the people into the operation of government, they automatically are a new check to our system of checks and balances. Because, you see, you can buy the legislature, but you can't buy the people. It's the majority of the constituency. And so many of you who are afraid, well, you know, that person down the street there, he's not too smart. I don't want to have him be a lawmaker. Well, I got to tell you, don't worry about that. We're talking about the majority of the constituency. What is the constituency of the nation? It's 130 million registered voters, thereabouts. That's a very large constituency. So what would you trust? A decision made by the majority of 535 people in the Congress, or the majority of 130 million people who choose to turn out on election day? And there's no election day under my system. There's no election day. This stuff, this is what the body politic has been screwing you with over the last 100 years. Why do you have to get out and vote on a rainy Tuesday? And of course, we saw it in Ohio. I had students that were working on our behalf that they said they waited 8 hours to vote. I would have never done that, but they were not going to be driven from the polls. And that's how they stole the election in 04, and they stole it in 02, and shame on us. And well, I get pretty angry over that whole thing. The short answer is that you have to begin to appreciate that you are the authority of your life. I don't care whether you don't have any education. You're an authority of your life. You don't need politicians to tell you what you should do, because that's what you've been getting, and that's where our problems lie. Now, I don't destroy representative government. We bring the people in, they become the immediate senior partners. That's very significant. Let me give you an example. The people pass a law, national law, and the Congress says, oh, there's a mistake made, and they correct it. That's fine. Now, another Congress on another issue would say, oh, we don't like that law. We're going to turn around and change that law. Well, if people get a little riled up who are supporting that issue, they'll pass it again. And if the Congress is stupid enough to go back and mess with it, they deserve what they get. The people are going to be the senior partners. They can amend the Constitution with 2 votes, 6 months apart and no longer than a year apart. 2 votes, so that after you voted to amend the Constitution, you wake up and say, what the hell have we done? We've got to take another look at this. So you get another bite at the apple. So it takes 2 votes. Now, here we got 9 people in black robes that do it 3 or 4 times a year, and nobody pays any mind. So, have you ever been in our justice system? I mean, you got money, you got justice. No money, no justice. Just that simple. Not very complicated.
200 Mexicans were captured at the Mexican-U.S. border and sent back. What is your stance on the border immigration issue?
I'm ashamed that we're building a fence on our southern borders. Flat ashamed. I think let's look at the problem. 40 years ago, we didn't have this problem. Why is it that we have the problem today? Really think of it. Look at the failure in Detroit. I don't have to tell you about Detroit. You know, I've seen Michael Moore's movies too. And so, what do you do when you fail as a person? It's human nature. We fail in education. We fail in healthcare. We fail in our relationship in the world. We're invading people. We're wasting our treasure, and that's failure. So what do? Oh, we don't look at ourselves and say we're failures. Oh no, let's pick some people of color coming over there. They're the ones that are responsible. They're the terrorists. That is scapegoating. That's national scapegoating. The problem is a short run. Here, I would turn around as president. I would issue green cards to everybody who's here. Well, they said, well, they were illegal. We got to punish them. They were illegal. Since when did we start punishing people for doing the illegal things in this country? Standard. I don't buy that standard. So no, the problem is to understand what caused the problem. And what caused the problem is the United States of America. Here, we're the strongest and wealthiest people in the Western Hemisphere. And so when you have a lack of successful governance and economic governance in Central America, in South America, in Mexico, who's at fault? Them or us? I commend to you a very famous name in my book, a fellow by the name of Schmidley Butler. He was a Marine general, 3 stars. And Schmidley wrote a book, and he said that war is a racket. And that's what he did. He went down there in Central America, and he shaped up these people for United Fruit and everybody else. We Americans, when you hear this word by your leaders saying, our vital interest. Here, Google what Condoleezza Rice said yesterday before the Congress of the United States. I was reading the article flying in, and I could have barfed. It was so bad. It was just terrible. Who are we to say that our vital interest, we don't even live in the Middle East, and that those people are not entitled to have influence in their own backyard? And then she made a statement that was just as horrific. And you heard this statement with Saddam Hussein. He was a threat to all of our survival. Of course, we found out he was a threat to nobody but himself. And lo and behold, you're hearing it right now. The drumbeat is on for war. And let me tell you, this is serious. Because look at the Prime Minister of Britain signed on. Sarkozy, God, if we only had Chirac. Sarkozy has signed on to go to war. That's France and Britain. Merkel from Germany is on her way to Crawford, and God knows if she can be turned around. She's got a good head. I hope. But clearly, thank God for Putin. Thank God for China. Because that's what's going to, and they've drawn the line. This is not just Putin alone. These are the Caspian nations. And they've said, here's the line. Nobody invades Iran. And there's no reason to invade Iran. Iran is not a threat to anybody. They've never invaded another country for several hundred years. They've never been at war for over 110 years, except when our client dictator invaded them at our suggestion. And we gave them the AWACS to monitor what we were doing, and they were able to bring Saddam Hussein to a neutral position. Here, most people forget that in 1953 there was only 2 democracies in the Middle East. One was Israel, and the other was Iran. And we despoiled their democracy. And what we see today with the mullahs is what we've sown. If you don't like it, don't worry about it. Because, they got a problem. They believe that people who believe in God should run the country. Are we any different? I mean, our president says God made him president, and God told him to invade Iraq. I mean, does it get any sicker than that? And we look to other people. Please, you just got to pay attention. It's our country, and they just treat us like fools. Please.
Okay, you talked about the corruption, how broken the system is. What do you say to full public campaign financing of all of them?
I'm for that. Hey, I'd like that tomorrow. Let me tell you what I found out yesterday. Is that the checkoff, which is the money you have for public financing, and I qualify this. And there's only 2 other applications. One is from McCain, and one is from Tancredi. The other, I think Edwards got in, but I think he found out what was going on, and so he got back out. What's going on is, I qualify, we're in the process of doing the audit right now, and we won't see any money until March. And the reason why I won't see any money is because, and the people at FEC are angry about this, but the money is in the hands of the Treasurer of the United States, Mr. Paulson. And so what he's saying, in his interpretation, that, well, we got to sequester this money for the general election. And so that's what's happening. So there's no money for people like me who qualify for election. It is a serious money for me. I've not spent in my campaign $250,000. I've not spent that even close to it. And I'm a player. So, I don't need $100 million to wipe out Hillary or to take care of Barack. I can do it if I've got enough money to make my voice heard. And I will do that as long as I have to. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. You've already asked me a question in the other place. Let's give him a chance here, and then I'll come back.
What is your view on equal rights for marriage for the gay community?
Good question. Easy. And keep in mind, what is marriage? The terminology has been appropriated by religions and all civil societies. I mean, marriage is nothing new. And what is marriage when you look at it? It's the commitment of two human beings in love who want to unite. Human beings. Two boys, two girls, two heterosexuals. I don't care. It's two human beings who are in love. And if there's anything we need in our society, is a lot more love. Love informs courage. Love informs courage. Courage permits us to implement all of our other virtues. That's the kind of leadership you're going to get out of me. Believe it. It's going to be first love. And some of it will be a little tough love, but they'll be love. Please.
Yeah, what exactly is your plan for implementing a not-for-profit national health care system?
A not-for-profit? Oh, no. The plan I have, I wrote a chapter in Citizen Power where I took that exact position. And at the time, I was very close to Pierre Trudeau in Canada, and that's when Lalo and his assistant was designing the Canadian system. I think we can improve upon it. I'm very fond of the Canadian system, but I'd like to see a little more element of competition. And what I've learned in life is that we are all indolent, and so a little competition never hurts, and it's acts of discipline. My plan is very straightforward. What it says is that it will not be financed by business. I'm for doing away with business taxes, period. What I want is a retail sales tax. Our system of revenue is corrupt. Part of that retail sales tax, because it will replace all income taxes, including your FICA and others. And now we'll take a slice of that retail sales tax that we're going to have, and it will go to pay for the cost of health care. And then what you'll do under my plan, which is called HSS, Health Security System. You will then sign up once a year for your certificate, and that certificate will entitle you to pick any one of 5 insurance plans. No more than that. Just 5 insurance plans and 1 government plan. And then you'll be able to choose your own doctor. There will be no lemon dropping. And the only competition they're going to be engaged in is who can provide the administrative cost most efficiently. That's the way the system will work. But there's a lot of other complexities because it will cover glasses, it will cover hearing, it will cover dentures. It will be across the board. What it won't cover is if you're 95 years old and you want a heart transplant, you won't be able to get it. You won't be able to get it. If you want it, you got to have the money, you have to save the money to do it. And what I'm saying is there's 3 crises in our healthcare system. One is coverage. We don't cover all the people, and that's immoral. There's only 2 countries in the world, industrialized countries, that do not do that. One is the United States and the other is South Africa. The other crisis we face is that the cost of Medicare and Medicaid have gone through the ceiling. We're going bankrupt on that. So when some people say, "Oh, we want a Medicare system for everybody," that's not a solution. That is just compounding the existing problem we have. And then the other is insisting that business enterprise pay for our health care when all it does is make it uncompetitive. You here in Detroit, you're part of the Rust Belt. Let me tell you what caused your problem. Was our system of taxation and health care done by business enterprise. Both of those things contributed. Oh, we love to point that, well, these other countries, you know, they got cheaper labor. I got to tell you, smart business people don't go for cheap labor alone. They go for the best overall climate. And part of it, and we've destroyed our climate through our system of taxation. And so when you talk about, let's just take a minute, because we love to say, oh, let's sock it to the corporations. Hey, if there's anybody that is going to change corporate power in this country, it's going to be me. And that's corporate personhood. That's another problem, and that's over here. But let me tell you about simple economics. And that is, if you have a business, and you, acquire a natural resource, or a resource, you have to process this, so you have to hire labor. So you got the cost of the resource you're using, the cost of the labor. Now, if you're going to stay in business next year, you've got to have some profit. And so on top of that, now you're ready. You got your widgets, except that now the government taxes you. So you got to put that on the cost of your widgets. So you sell your widgets. Who pays the tax? The corporations or the consumer? Now you've heard this cliche, single payer. You know who's single? There's only one single payer. It's you. You're the citizen, you're the consumer, and you're the taxpayer. That's the only single payer. Because government is not single payer. Government is something abstract. And so when they tell you, oh, single payer is some secret device that's going to make it cheap for you, don't buy that at all. What will make it cheap is, under my plan, with a retail sales tax, all the tourists that come to the United States will be helping pay for your health costs.
What's the percentage of that sales tax?
What we determined from the academic studies are that you're presently paying, here, this table right here has probably got 23 to 25% income tax in the table, in the whole processing. So what I want to do is to move it across, not raise the tax, not lower the tax, just keep it uniform. And so what we do is we turn around and say, we're going to cut the income tax right out, and there'll be probably a 1.5 to 2 year transition. And so we cut that out. That means we can raise now a retail sales tax to the same rate, 23%, and you're not disadvantaged at all, except that you now have total transparency. Nobody can hoodwink you. And that's what's vital in our society, because you don't know what's going on. Let me tell you, the tax code's that high. We got 30,000 lobbyists in Washington who are paid in order to advantage their people who can afford to pay for it. You are getting screwed to the wall in a system of taxation, and I've been on the finance committee for 8 years, and I saw it, and I looked at it happen every single day that I served on that committee. And I'm fed up with it, and that's the reason I want to change. And we can change. And when somebody will say, "Oh, that's that's regressive," it's not regressive. The more you spend, the more you pay. Okay, the more you earn, the more you pay. So both of them are progressive. We can make it even more progressive. What are the essentials of life? Food, lodging, clothing, medicine, even transportation. Those are the essentials of life. Now, how are we going to deal with that? Well, real simple. We can calculate what that is, and we're not going to let you go to a drugstore, a grocery store, and not pay the tax. That you're providing an exception, and that opens the door to coming back to exactly what we have, the corruption we now have. So what we do is we can calculate easily how much you're going to spend on these vitals every month. And so the government, since we've done away with the IRS, the Social Security, they're used to sending out checks. We'll send you out a check. You sign up for it every year, and we'll send you out a check at the first of every month for the tax you will be paying on these essentials of life. It's not insignificant. You're talking $300 to $500 a month, plus you go get your paycheck, and there's no deductions. But now let's look what it does for the poor. Oh, we Democrats love to say we're really taking care of the poor. That's right, we screw them worse than we do everything. And here's what we do. We turn around and say, you can get some help from the government if you have an earned income credit. What does that mean? You got to have some earned income. No earned income, go sleep under a bridge or go on welfare. Take your choice. Under our system, Can you imagine now, these people that don't even have the wherewithal to buy the essentials of life, they're going to have coming at them a cash flow. Is that part of my qualifying here to be on the ballot?
He's on the ballot.
I'm on the ballot.
Yes.
Hey, I'm on the ballot. Oh, no, you guys talking about the national initiative?
Yeah.
Oh, no, okay, that's different. Let me get back. But I want to get, I'm on the ballot. I'm yours. All you got to do is get me all your delegates. And I don't care what people are telling you, who's going to be seated, not seated. With me, will be seated. And I'm telling you, the people in Florida, it's there too. So let's do this together. In answer to your question, to qualify an initiative, here, we decide this table, we want an initiative, or that table, we want an initiative on giving women's right to choose, period, no interruption by government. So we call up the Electoral Trust, we say, hey, write this petition for us. Because that's what I could do as a senator, write this legislation so it's constitutional. And then after we get that, we have to qualify. And that's the only time we have to spend any money. We need to turn around and get signatures, and at that point we'll be able to do it electronically, so it'll be very cheap. Or we can get a commission with a national poll, and the polls are simple. Because you see, you have to qualify it. Do the American people feel that this issue is important enough to vote on? Not whether you're going to vote for or against, but do you feel it's important? That's the only barrier. After that, you don't spend another penny. It's all done automatically, just like it is in the Senate and the Congress with your tax dollars. Hope that answers your question. Please.
I've been a fan of yours since the first debate. I'm a real straight shooter, and I like that that's what you do. And unlike this woman, I think that you can win. So I need to know what you are going to do to get yourself back in the debate.
Well,
you need to be a seat.
two things. First off, I'm going to be in Pennsylvania next Tuesday, and we're pricing what it will take to get a stage and get a big screen, and we may do it outside, but we're going to check on the weather. And then what we're going to do is we're going to flash up on the screen the actual debate, take it off right from the television. And then I'll be walking on the stage and I'll be answering every question. And I'll be critiquing. It gets even better than that. It's even better than that. I'm waiting on a call, and he may not be able to do it.
Is that going to be broadcast nationally?
Well, no, all we can do is, I can't afford it probably. It'll be video streamed, and we'll slice it and dice it so you'll see it on YouTube. Oh no, here, I was at a venue before at Wayne State watching all these things on YouTube. I had not seen most of them. I mean, this is new to me. At my age, you can begin to appreciate the problem. I'm just going forward. I don't have time to look over my shoulder. And there's a benefit of telling the truth. You don't have to remember what you said. So I've got no problems with that. But I'll share. I don't know if I can pull this off. But you know, I was on the Stephen Colbert show. I'll tell you a little inside joke. You'll understand it. The day before I appeared on the Colbert show, he made this comment. You know, he's a very sometimes earthy comedian, and I didn't stuck with it. He said, that guy from Alaska, he's got snowballs. So now I've got to call into him, and the conversations, and he could call at any time, and the conversation would go like, hey, you promised me a bump when I was on your show, and I never got the bump. And what are you doing? You're running for president in competition with me. I'll tell you what, I'm a pretty generous kind of guy. I'm putting up a stage in Pennsylvania, and I'm inviting you to come and be with me on the stage. I hope he bites on it. But I don't know. You know, he's already got the taping all set up, but I forget who he's on. But you know, it's tough. Here, I found out that I wasn't being invited. It was last Friday at 5 o'clock. And the minute they had to respond to us, they issued a press release. And of course, that's the way you bury a press release, is Friday at 5 o'clock. And so we started Monday to find out. I wanted to find out first, is the Democratic Party going to stand up for my right to free speech? They caved, not even touched, not even close. Secondly, then I had to get some resources. That's people, you know. And so I flew my guy in from Florida who does a good job in organizing, and he's right now. And he got in late last night. He's there trying to see if we can get a venue. And this is where it gets interesting. The university said, oh, we'll be happy to have the senator. talk on it because it's right across the street from Drexel where the other debate is going on. And so lo and behold, oh yeah, but I can't say anything about individuals. You know, I got to just answer the questions. Well, what I want to do is I want to show the picture of the board of directors and the president of GE. And I want to show all of the clips about all the weapons that they make. And I want you to see that. And I want you to see how important it is for them. Now, GE does other good things. They make windmills. I'd like them to spend all their time making windmills because they can get off of energy overnight. But here, when you're in these kind of battles, you fight. You fight. You don't lay down. And that's what's wrong with the Congress. They just lay down. And a president who's got half a brain, that's a compliment. Yeah. And then he can run over the Congress. What does it say? And you got a problem. Here, I got to tell you, I'm on a bill tomorrow night with Senator Stabenow and also John Sununu from New Hampshire. Both of those people voted for the Lieberman Amendment. Lieberman Amendment 1 was what brought us to Iraq. Lieberman Amendment 2 was what is going to bring us to Iraq. And that, I got to tell you, is unbelievable. Everybody in this room will be damaged extensively. And so these people have got to be held accountable. And I'm not afraid. I don't dislike Debbie Stabenow. He's a good senator. I want better than a good senator. I want somebody of courage out there to do something. James Webb, you think it's an accident that they line up all the leadership and they spring a resolution that nobody knows of, and then all of a sudden you got to vote? Let me just check. This could be Colbert. No, it's not. It's Skylar. Skylar, I'll call you back later. Hi.
Is that your wife?
Yeah. No. That's one of our IT geniuses. He's 17 years old. He's Denver, Colorado, and he's the one that puts a lot of his stuff up on the YouTube, and is very creative. And I'm inciting him to be more creative. But did I answer your question? Okay. Then why are you asking me? You only get one question. Okay. I'll give you a break. Go ahead.
What's your plan for getting out of Iraq safely and efficiently in short term?
Well, there's two facets to that. I have a plan to get out of Iraq, which I presented to the Congress in May. And it'll work, guaranteed to work. The problem is if you get out of Iraq, you've got George Bush who's president. He doesn't know how to make the peace. And so when they're predicting that everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket, he's right. If George Bush is in charge, it will. We saw that with Richard Nixon. So now, so I'm totally resigned to the fact that we will not get out of Iraq until January of 2009. I'll tell you, I'm president, we get out of Iraq in 120 days. Everybody, all of our war profiteering corporations. The only people that are going to be there of a military nature are the Marine Guards at this unbelievable embassy that we're probably going to put out rental property on it because we don't need that big an embassy. Now, but the problem is not just pulling, that's the easy part. The other part, which is really very important and which is going to rile a lot of Americans, I'm going to stand there as President of the United States and I'm going to tell the Iranians that we need your help. We screwed up. I'm going to tell the Syrians, we need your help. We screwed up. I'm going to tell the Israelis, we need your help. We screwed up. Saudi Arabia, help us. Help us. They have a greater stake in that area than we have. And they will help us. They will help us. And then we can bring in the world community. The first thing we Americans got to do is stop thinking like imperialists, stop thinking like we're so smart to be the policemen of the world, and get down to recognizing, gee, we are no better than anybody else. We have been blessed. We have been blessed with resources in the country and an amalgam of immigrant populations coming in here. And we're squandering that blessing right now. And we'll go the way of all empires. And ours eclipse will be a lot faster than we realize. Unless we make some fundamental changes in our energy policies, we will, I'm talking about the human race. We always think of, well, the energy is an American problem. It's not an American problem. It's a problem, it's a global problem. Okay, one last question from this young man.
Actually, you were talking about Iran.
Louder.
When you were talking about Iran, I'm wondering, how is Iran not a threat like when they said Israel should be left off the map?
No, that's one person in Iran who said that. Ahmadinejad, who's the president, who became president because we insulted the people of Iran with the prior president, Hamadi. And he helped us with to repress the Taliban in Afghanistan. And then our stupid president got up right after that and said, this is an axis of evil. And so what happened, he lost the election, Ahmadinejad won. We have a great habit of creating our enemies. And so Iran is not a threat to us. Here, Ahmadinejad, in terms of power, I can best describe it by what Nance Gardner said about the Vice President of the United States. Certainly not the one we have. He said it's not worth a bucket of warm spit. And he has no power. And when you talk about the Holocaust and all that, would you realize that right this week, there's a mini-series playing in Tehran that shows the Holocaust like everybody else has seen it, making a fool of Ahmadinejad, obviously. He's just got in trouble because he fired the guy that was in charge of the nuclear stuff, who was moderate, and now they're jerking his chain a little bit. He's within 6 votes of having to have another election in office. So don't believe what you hear. Look at history. Take out your history book and tell me the last time Iran did any harm to anybody in the world. That's what counts. And then while you're at that history book, look at how many times the United States of America have invaded and tried to occupy other countries. And you can start early on with the Philippines and go down from there.
So is France and Germany.
Pardon me?
France and Germany, they invaded other countries too.
Of course they did.
Yeah, so it's not just...
Well, isn't it interesting that France and Germany are telling you that it's okay to bomb Iran?
They don't just go and invade. We're not like invading Canada right now.
We aren't?
We don't just go and invade countries.
Wait a second. You ought to look at history a little bit. We did try to invade Canada twice. So, so we're not doing it right now. You know why? When you go to Ottawa, have somebody show you the Rideau Canal, which was their marginal line at the time. No, we're not that. Here, we're a great country. We're just falling on bad times. And don't believe everything you hear. All I'm saying is a message. Forget the details. I want to empower you when you grow up so you can vote on laws that affect you and not defer to people who think they know what's good for you. Thank you very much.